Hello, hello. Thank you all for being here. Very punctual group. We are just a little bit behind schedule, but everything is set, and we're really excited to keep the wheels in motion and keep all the education and all the fun things happening today. So thank you all for being here in the audience. Thanks to everyone who will be joining us on the live stream and watching later at another date. We're excited that you guys are here and tuned in as well. But you're not as lucky as these people sitting in the front row. You guys are in the splash zone, but I'm just kidding. There's no water feature today. Our next talk is sponsored by Canon, and we are so blessed and so thankful to have Atiba Jefferson joining us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Atiba.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are going to talk about action photography. There's a lot in photography that I do, but we are going to specialize in action photography. I'm going to give a little rundown of how I started. How many people in here shot film? Nice. And printed film. Cool. So I am old. I'm 47 years old. That's old. That's old. Be a 47-year-old skateboarder, you'll know. It hurts. So this is my first roll of film shot with a Canon Snappy Q. Does anyone know what that camera was? No. It's an original point and shoot. So I grew up in a small town, Manitou Springs, Colorado, and this is Josh Wildman, a friend of mine who really inspired me to pick up a camera in high school. And it changed my life. I was a skateboarder and just loved looking at magazines, loved looking at the pictures of them. And when I was doing that, I didn't really realize that it was planting a seed for me to become the person I've become. Skateboarding is an amazing thing because it teaches you about art with the skateboard graphics on the bottom of the board. It teaches you photography from the magazines. It teaches you filmmaking from the videos and the music that goes into it. But we could talk all day, and I know we don't got a lot of time, and I want to take some questions, so I'm going to get right to it. Now, I think in action photography, there's a couple basic rules, and I am breaking a lot of those in this picture. One of the first things is that my timing is off. Timing is such an important thing with action photography, making sure you get peak action. The other thing is focus, and we're gonna talk a couple different ways to do that with action. My focus is off. It's actually on the background and not on my subject. Composition is there, and I'm gonna talk about composition. The biggest thing with skateboarding that some mistakes are made are you don't show what the person is going over or coming from. And that's why I'll bring you next to years later, I started photographing basketball photography because I was a fan. And this is actually the first time that I brought a camera into a basketball game. And this is available light. So I'm gonna talk about freezing action. How many people know about shutter speed? Cool. So shutter speed is another crucial point into freezing action. And what I've learned is the bare minimum is 1/500th. That's the bare minimum to freeze action. I think you'll still get some blur. I love the sweet spot that I always say, you'll hear me talk about this for the next 40 minutes, is 1/2000th. That is a sweet spot for really making action crisp. And you don't always, I think there are these tips, there are these rules, but they're made to be broken because you can always get really creative with slowing down your shutter. So don't always feel like you have to be at these fast shutters to tell that story. But today we're really gonna talk about freezing action. Available light is so different in so many different ways because it requires, a fast shutter requires a lot of light. How many people know about ISO? Cool. So ISO is your best friend, but also your enemy if you don't like super grainy. So this is shot with film. This is 3200 film, probably pushed another stop to 6400. And it's really grainy. And the reason for that is because of the low light in the arena. Now, this next picture is Tiger Woods, and this is shot outdoors. So my amount of light, this was actually shot at, I wanted to be at 2.8. So how does everyone know about aperture in here and the difference? Because the big thing that I find is when you set your camera in auto with trying to freeze action, a lot of times it's just thinking overall for you. Like it might put the shutter at 250 when it should be at 2000. So a thing with action that I really find is you should always be in manual if you can. If you feel like you're not experienced enough, then you go to shutter priority and set that to anywhere from 500 to 2000. Also, moments in action. There's different moments. And in this picture, what I'm showing, who's that? Just kidding. What I'm showing in this is that this is actually after the swing. So storytelling is a big part of photography, right? And with action, there's always going to be different moments that tell a better story. And in this one, I felt like it was the finish of Tiger's swing that made a better picture. So never feel like you have to, like, and especially with golf. How many golfers are in here? Not that many. I guess we are in New York. It's a little hard to golf here. But a lot of times people think the striking, like right when the ball hits, it's never that good of a picture. Usually in golfing, it's the backswing or the finish. So you never know. And, you know, with action photography, my biggest key was that I knew what I was shooting, right? I know skateboarding, so I know the tricks, I know basketball. So if you're going to get into action, the one thing that I always say is educate yourself on what you're shooting. What is your subject? What is the timing? Just know everything you can about it. This is Tony Hawk. We're looking at a lot of greats. I've been really lucky in my career to go from Kobe Tiger to Tony in 3 slides. This is adding flash photography. How many people in here shoot with flashes? Okay, that's a good amount. How many people in here know about duration? Okay, that's a good thing. And we could talk all day about duration in its own self and the way that flash photography works, but I don't think we have that much time. Duration works similar to a shutter. So duration is the length that a flash will output light. So it's, how many people know what high-speed sync is? Cool. So high-speed sync is everything for me. I started using flash photography in the early 90s, and I saw the switch from 60th of a second sync to 250. And now with high-speed sync, we can shoot at all shutter speeds. So what I'm doing here, actually, this was a test for the Canon EL1 flashes. And believe it or not, I only have 3 of them at full power with high-speed sync. And what I was going to say about duration is it's the length of, and mini flashes do it differently. Some are microbursts, but duration is just something, and really studying how to freeze action with flashes, you should always know, because each different light source has a different way of doing it. But duration is the length of time the the flash is, right? So a flash, this is some science stuff, works the same as your shutter. So that's why flash sync gets really confusing. Duration is something good to know. So when you're shooting with all different types of lights, it's always good to try and find out what your duration is to make sure that that flash can sync at a high speed with whatever camera you're using, preferably Canon. This is perspective. So going back to the Tony Hawk photo, this is shot with the fisheye, which is a standard lens for shooting skateboarding, because the big thing is it shows where you're going and where you're coming from. So you want to show that, because if I would have just cropped Tony into the sky, I would never know how big he goes. So the rule of thumbs for me with action, you can always crop in. So always give your frame some room to breathe. But if you've noticed, I've showed all different types of action photography so far. And one thing that I will always say that really changed my photography was taking what I learned from skateboarding and bringing it into the other things. And that's why this perspective is shot with fisheye on a ladder. And this is actually not even strobed. This is another way, this was actually shot with reflectors. So you can bring in light to your subject in so many different ways. And you don't always have to have a big production and a big setup. This next picture is Sky Brown at the Olympics, and all I have is one speed light on camera. And the great thing about a fisheye with shooting action when you only have one flash like that is that I'm actually able to get really close to my subject so that I can stop down the background. So that's one thing that's really great about shooting with high-speed sync, is that normally the background and the clouds would be really blown out with just one flash. But I'm able to stop down the light from my background to my subject. So this was shot at 2000, 400 ISO at f8. So that 2000 speed you're hearing come into this whole picture. And here's another version of this, but this is a little bit later in the day. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but really one thing that I really love is playing with flash photography at later points, sunset or sunrise, because you get just an amazing dynamic. The next I want to talk about sequences. And sequences are a great thing because I call it spray and pray. So when in doubt, just shoot a burst. You know, it's, you know, with these new cameras, the R3 specifically, you know, shooting at 30 frames per second, you are going to capture the peak moment. And as you see with this framing, there are moments, but you can tell when the peak moment is. And that's when we really break down timing of so many things, is like try and catch that peak frame. This is an amazing concept because this is actually shot with flash. So the one thing for those who really tech with flash, when you're shooting a sequence, you can't have your flash at full power. You actually have to power it down so the recycle time can keep up. And that's a big thing. I usually am shooting at full power so that I can get as much light to freeze my subject. But the duration, people who know what I'm talking about, full power is slower duration. Lower power, faster duration, just for those taking really good notes. Portraits, I love shooting portraits. I think with action, you can see action in so many different situations. It doesn't strictly have to be a action not communicating with your subject. This is a simple dribble that to me tells a story that is, you know, it's LeBron, it's a portrait, he's engaging, he's looking fierce, but I am able to show a little bit of action. And I think that's the one thing too, when you're shooting action, you know, it's great to have your subject be doing what they're doing. They feel the most comfortable because most athletes don't like their picture taken. You want to grab it? Just kidding. So, concert photography. It's one of my favorite things to shoot action of. And I actually always bring this picture up because I took what I learned from skating. This isn't even a burst. This isn't even a sequence. This is a one-time frame. I did not know what he was going to do. This is one of my favorite photos, and I got really, really lucky. But that was because I was in action skate photography mode when I was set up for this. This is a flash on camera. This is a fisheye. This is not your standard way to shoot this kind of stuff, but I did it. And that's the one thing with action. I said to always show where the skater's coming from or going to. And in this exact moment, I am not showing that. But to me, this is a really interesting perspective to show. And it would look like I'm under plexiglass, right? Is that what everyone's thinking? Maybe? No? I just set my camera on the floor and the skateboarder ollied over it. It's the most basic photo. I never thought about doing this until, I mean, this photo's not that old. It's like maybe a year old. But it tells a story. It's a different perspective. As a normal skate photographer, I'd say this is wrong because I can't tell how high he's going or what he's doing. So this is a prime example of really switching that up and just finding different angles. When you're shooting action, I tend to want to show the face, show, you know, the openness of the athlete or the person or whoever we're talking about, the subject. But in many cases, you can break the rules for that. And, you know, this is another perspective for a basketball photo. You know, this is one of my honest, favorite angles for basketball photography is the down, because it's such a clean background. And that's, you know, once again, just approaching what you're gonna shoot in a different perspective. Because of skateboarding, a lot of times you don't know what angle you're able to get. You don't know if you're gonna be kicked out. You gotta be quick on your toes, so on and so forth. So for me, I'll approach something and look all the way around and go, okay, I could shoot it from over there, I can shoot it from over there, I could shoot it from up there, I could shoot it from down there. But I always try and pre-visualize different options because it's so easy to just go, that's the easy angle, that will get the job done. And the same with this. This is a fisheye photo, high-speed sync once again, but looking at biking from a different perspective. And that's what, you know, I really love taking what I learned, and it really gave me a different look, taking what I learned from skateboarding and bringing it into basketball. But also I learned all my high-speed sync stuff from shooting basketball games. So it's really taking what I learned from basketball and bringing that into the other worlds. These next ones are prime examples of really capturing a sunset or a dark lighting situation. So if you can have a lot of flash power, you can really stop down and make it almost, I mean, this picture is shot at probably 5:30 p.m., but I used so much light, I was able to have a high shutter speed and bring down my background. And it's the same with this. So this is a prime example of using everything I learned in skateboarding and shooting a dancer and stopping down that background, because that's a big thing that I love to do. Here's the exact opposite. This is shot at night. So my shutter is 1 second, aperture is 5.6, ISO is 200. And I'm shaking my camera because I want to show the blur of the lights. So I'm kind of breaking the rules of what I normally say, but it's, you know, one of those techniques that I really love because it gives you a different perspective. How's everyone doing? We're still with me? All right. We are going to talk about a photo that, before I take some questions, that I get a lot of questions about. This is cover Thrasher magazine, which I work for, and this is Tyshawn Jones, and this is honestly something I love to talk about for many reasons. Obviously, there's a big story about me technically breaking the law, getting on the tracks. There's no permits for this. That's how skateboarding works. Yes, a train did come down the tracks, even though we thought there were no trains. But I shot this with 3 EL1s, which is crazy. Just 3 speed lights. I had one on a stand, friends holding 2 lights. But it also was, for me, when I had to set up to do this, this was me really having to mix light. So my shutter speed is 60th, so I can be handheld. I bumped my ISO up to 640. My EL1s were at 1/4, and my aperture was 5.0. And what I did, I didn't use, like, I used a pre-focus. A lot of times I'll use autofocus if I can't communicate with my subject, right? So if I'm at a basketball game or a skateboard contest, autofocus is great. And the eye detection in the new Canon stuff is amazing. But in this situation, I pre-focus. So I had flashes on both sides of him. So he's lit up perfectly evenly. And then I had one down below to light up the train tracks. But I kept my hand really steady so there wasn't any motion blur like the last picture, so I could keep it nice and perfect. And then my flash was enough to freeze him, but there wasn't too much available light that would cause blur. So that's the one thing that to me is really kind of tricky about balancing light. Because if you have a slow shutter and too much available light, it's going to be blurred. So you really want to make sure you always know what freezing action, that your shutter speed is fast enough to freeze it. And what flash is, it's such a game changer because it enables you to really freeze your subject. But you do have to know the duration thing, because if I would have shot this at full power, my duration would have been too slow, because at full power, the flash is powering up to freeze it. So as you can see, there's been a big change from the first slide I showed you to now. And you know, that is technology, that is technique, and the big things as far as timing, knowing when to grab, make sure you get your timing right, focus, lighting. Those are all the basis to freezing action. So we're actually a couple minutes earlier than I thought, and my favorite thing to do is interact with you. So I really want to take this time, and I want to take some questions. Are y'all down to ask me some questions? This is my favorite point. Do we walk a mic around?
Yep, we got
Okay, cool. Real quickly though, before I forget that, I want to grab a selfie. So, because I always forget when I say goodbye, so I'm like, let's do it. So before we get into the questions, this is my favorite way. Hold on, let me put the focus on y'all. I'm gonna go available so I can get all y'all. Okay, who's got the first question? All right.
Yeah.
Wait. Is the mic back there?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name?
Kareem.
Do I know you?
I think so.
It's my buddy Kareem. If you go downstairs at 4, we're gonna be shooting some skateboarding at the Canon booth. What do you got, bro?
Mr. Jefferson, I wanted to ask, do you remember the first skateboarding photo you shot in New York City?
The first time I was shooting skateboarding in New York City was '96 with Keith Huffnagel.
Wow.
And it was this frontside board slide just down by the World Trade.
What?
The OG ones, yeah. But shooting skateboarding in New York is a lot harder than LA. LA, we get to just get in our car and drive around. Here in the city, you're just on your skateboard and you're dodging traffic, trying to keep up with the skater to the next spot. So I love doing it here, but LA with air conditioning and snacks is a lot funner. So, all right, I'll let the mic. You right here. I mean, you could just hand the mic out.
Because I think I'm loud enough for you to hear me.
Oh yeah, that's a New Yorker.
Yeah, indeed. Well, forget about it. We can do it. So as we say in the Bronx, did you ever do birds in flight? And how would it compare with this?
Oh yeah. Birds in flight is the same knowledge, to be honest. And I had a really fun trip with Canon where we were testing the R8 and the R7, and that's the autofocus. And what I really found is that it's crazy, the smaller sensor cameras, I prefer a big sensor, but those smaller sensors actually kind of make a doubler on it. But it's all the same thing, you know? It's kind of like shooting motorcycles. You could have a slow shutter. If you're panning, it's beautiful. But really what it is it's that autofocus and it's that pray and spray. I would turn all my bursts on for any kind of bird, so.
Hello. With the Thrasher cover, you said that a train was coming. Were you able to save the flash that was on the ground?
Oh yeah, I grabbed it and cut my hand open jumping out. But then I figured out a way, and I shouldn't talk about it publicly, but the third rail is actually the quickest way to die or get out of there. Just make sure you don't kick it.
Hey, what's going on? I ran into you downstairs.
Oh yeah, how are you? Good to see you again.
I'm good. I haven't seen you in like 10 minutes. It's okay. Yeah. So I know I mentioned when you were casted for the Street Dreams film, when you were shooting Paul Rodriguez.
I have an acting career. Check my IMDb. But.
Yeah. So when you had your moment taking photos of P-Rod, were you actually taking photos?
No, and if you notice, because they wanted me to act like I was shooting film and all I had was my EOS 1D, I had to fake like I was shooting film. So, no, that was all Hollywood magic.
Oh, nice. You're a great actor.
Oh, no, I am not.
All right, coming up to the front over here.
Hey, so I understand skateboarding to be, and you know, the skate mags and stuff, it's like very communal and everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
What's it been like for you to kind of like grow out of that and into these different industries where it's like much more global? And
I mean, it's amazing. Like, honestly, just being up here, like becoming a Canon Explorer of Light has changed my life and has been such a huge way to take photography into so many different places. But, you know, I'm always gonna be a skateboarder and approach things as a skateboarder and a skate photographer. And I think coming from skateboarding, it makes you really appreciate doing the other things. And it's a different crowd, and it's a funnier thing. You're not just getting in a van. It's like a car service or whatever, and you're kind of laughing. But yeah, it's just, skateboarders, we come from the street, so we're in the gutter. So, anything is up from there.
Hi, my name is Matt from Lecker Photography. I do a lot of luxury real estate photography, and I've incorporated AI a ton. A lot of people say, you're going to get beat by AI, or you're going to get beat by those that use AI. How do you plan on incorporating, or how do you incorporate it now?
AI is great for making treatments, that's for sure. I think in photography, it's there. And I think when you really think about it, it is scary in some ways. I'm glad to be old and my career is coming to an end, right? But I think it's like anything. I think digital stuff is kind of always been AI in a way. So it's just another tool. You can't be scared of it. You got to be able to create from it. But yeah, you see some stuff and it's pretty wild. So, I don't use it, but isn't the cloning tool AI? We've been using it forever.
We're getting both sides here.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I just want to say thank you for the fisheye. How long did
I
it
definitely
take?
didn't invent it, but you're welcome.
To me, when I first saw your
Yeah.
fisheye shots, it got me into it.
Yeah.
I'm still a rookie. How
Yeah.
long did it take for you to really grasp fisheye, or is it still a...
Fisheye, there's actually a sweet spot, just so you know. It's really probably the easiest easiest lens to focus. The Canon sweet spot's like 3 and between 3 and infinity. I tape mine down and point away. But you got to keep your subject probably like 6 feet away. But the thing with skateboarding and the fisheye is you're gonna get hit when they bail their tricks. So it's a dangerous lens to be around. But I think of it as easy because usually it gets everything in. Where it's like long lens, I'm like, oh shoot, I cropped the foot out or something. So it's just the go-to. And with the flip out screens on like the R5, I just like, it's great.
Hi, I'm Norm. For
Hey.
all the neat use of flash, I don't see shadows. How are you avoiding distracting shadows when you're using all that flash?
If I had another hour, I would teach you. I'll do a little downstairs. It's just knowing through practice. And the crazy thing is we learned all that through film. Don't put a flash behind you, I'll say. That's the first way to avoid your own shadow. But, having your lights up high really will make a smaller shadow.
Hi, you have on your shot of the Tokyo, you had a secondary story. And there was a picture of, you're in the picture, but you're taking.
Is that me?
There's a picture of
Nope.
you taking a picture of her.
Wait, was it a photo I showed?
Yeah, yeah. There's a shadow of you.
It was the Olympics.
The Olympic Tokyo. There you go. Pat.
Oh, yeah. I hate
that
when that
you?
happens.
No, it's fabulous.
Should have photoshopped that out. Where's the
Not
AI?
at all.
Great eye.
No, but then the other photo of your night photo, you have a clear shot of Air Jordans. So I always wondered, wow, could you have sold that to Air Jordan as an ad?
Oh, right. Yes, the silhouette is always great.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this now. I'm like, okay, Atiba. But yeah, that's the bane of my existence when I can't beat the sun. Thank you. Yeah, it's all. I meant to do that. Hey, shout out says shots to this roll, Jägermeister.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I was just wondering if you could go a little bit more about how the ambient light is taken away from your speed on your flash for that.
Well,
freezing of
because
the
you
flash.
gotta battle the sun, right? So ambient light is usually like 5, 6 at 2,000 I find. So I am trying to, because then you start getting the sun shadows on your subject. Like you can kind of see it almost with Sky when her helmet is coming down. There's a little shadow from that. I like that to be clean. I like the the flash to really burst that. But because I only, you know, I'm at the Olympics running around, I can't set up flashes. No, that's a really great question. Some, not necessarily athletes, but yeah, some people would not be into it. But this is skateboarding, so. Yeah, it's usually, during the day they won't see it. If it's dark, they'll see it. So that's the only time. So hopefully that answered your question a little bit.
We have time for a few more. I'm going to share the love. Stage left over here.
So yeah, so I got into photography by skateboarding. How did you transition, like, from shooting your friends to like making this a full-time career?
I always say it's, you know, I moved to California. Let's just put it that way. But surround yourself around the best of the best. You know, that's what I always say. Whether it's skateboarding, go to the skate park and try to find skaters that are really good and work with them. High school basketball is crazy now. If you're a basketball photographer, go to the best high school team in your town or your state. It will all lead back. And now with social media, everybody needs a photographer and photos that is really good at what they do. You know, it's just try and surround yourself around the best.
Hi. I'm wondering about the photo that you took at the concert. You said you used Flash. It was really dope. What's your personal approach when a venue or artist don't allow you to use Flash?
You're going to be in the photo pit, and you're going to hope they have good lighting. And I would probably bring like the widest lens, well, 1.2, because you've got to, you know, that's a whole, you know, there's only so much time in this, but concert photographers specifically does talk about freezing action. And I probably should have put something in there I could talk endlessly, but you got to hope for the good light, because the musicians are usually moving, so you want to be at least 500. Right. So, you know, in that photo, it happens to me all the time because I shoot concert photography, and that band is one of the only bands, Turnstile, that lets me do whatever I want, so I have kind of a different relationship. But yeah, many a show I'm down there, and I love my 51-2, 2870 2.0, and any 2.8 lens. But if you don't have 2.8 and you're shooting live concerts, it's going to be really tough.
Thank you.
Hey, it was great to meet you briefly.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Two questions. Did you say Turnstile? Is that the name of the band?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check them out.
Yeah. That was actually a record cover for the record before the last one.
Very cool. My question is, if you were forced to burn or delete all your photos except one.
Aggressive. Except one. Tyshawn. The Thrasher cover, 100%. That's my favorite.
Of all those.
Whoops. Uh-oh.
Wait, that's the one?
I don't know what happened. Oh, that is hilarious.
Sorry about that.
It's gone. It's gone forever.
Sorry, Atiba.
That's messed up, dude.
Really sorry.
But it would be Tyshawn, for sure. This photo, is it up? Here we go. How did he get it to, well. Oh, there it is. It's my first rodeo. Yeah, it would be this photo. I've been taking photos for years, and I always see a mistake. I actually never see a great photo. I see what I can improve. And this was one where I was like, I'm good. I don't see any shadows. It's not blurry. The light's even. Yeah, he went from one side to the other. It's a kickflip. And the timing was perfect, not to toot my own horn. So yes, if there was one photo on my tombstone, it's this one. I will tell you this is the only good one we shot, and he landed it like 3 times. Like, with action, it's not only on me, it's on them to make it look good too.
Really quickly, Manitou Springs. Who knows about Manitou Springs?
Yeah, Garden of the Gods.
How did you end up getting into skateboarding? I'm kind of surprised it's not snowboarding. And then
Yeah, I hated snowboarding. No offense.
And I just recently got into concert photography after like a 15-year music career. If you had to pick one lens, what would your favorite lens be if you could just pick one?
In the world? I mean, is it cheating because it's a zoom? 2870 2.0 is my favorite lens ever. And if I had to pick one, of 50 1.2. I'm not a 35 person if I had to pick one. I love that lens, but I'm a 50 mil. I see kind of more straight lines.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Couple more. We have just a few more minutes. These are great questions, y'all.
Yeah,
Keep 'em
this
coming.
is the fun part. Enough of me talking.
Atiba, huge fan.
Yo, what's up, dude?
I'm going to put you on the spot, but why Canon?
Oh, because it's the best.
Done. I'll drop the mic for you and we'll be done.
Thank you.
Hey, just want to say I like your work. It's my first time viewing your work, and it's very inspiring to me because I'm a sports photographer. Just want to put that out. Do you feel as consistency is necessary when pursuing a career in photography?
Consistency.
Consistency.
Yeah,
What's your
I mean,
view
I
on
think
it?
the toughest thing to say is like, you don't want, like, the way you get work is by being good at your craft. So don't put yourself in a situation you're not prepared to make great imagery. Mess around with your friends, experiment, work up to making sure your photos, you know, I don't want to say rip off other photographers, but make sure it's as good as others before you really want to put yourself into a situation you're getting paid for or that's going to lead you to more work.
Hey, I got a two-part question here.
Ooh, tour.
How long have you stayed at a spot to get a shot?
Oh.
And have you ever finalized a pic that wasn't a make?
Wow, you're that dude. Yeah, bails have definitely been ran. I'm not going to name names. This was a make. You saw the video footage.
For sure.
I've been at spots for hours. I mean, I've seen skaters try things for 5 hours, multiple different trips back. It's not even comprehensible what, I mean, I think there's been tricks we went back like 13 times.
Yeah.
So a lot. Days.
Thanks.
For 1 second, which is insane.
Hey man, what's up? I'm a Mohammed, skate photographer as well, especially from like the Gear in Focus days on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
That's what inspired me. Question, like, so in New York when I'm shooting or trying to, you know, a lot of spots are ABDs already, so I'm like, dang, how do I do my thing? Like, how do you figure out your angle when there's already a shot already taken?
There's always multiple angles. So really it's exactly what I was saying earlier where I get to a spot, like I could have shot this fisheye, which I wish I had more tries to see, but then again, I was like, you won't really see the train, you'll see the ceiling. So, you know, there's so many different angles to it. There's no right or wrong way. So just experiment and get weird is really what I would say.
What's good, Atiba?
What's up, bro?
So what's the percentage, like when you're outside with your Canon, that you're capturing the scene or when the scene captures you?
Wait, the scene?
Like when you're outside, you're going onto a set or you're going to a skate park, you're with the scene, you see the beauty of it. Or when you're behind it, you see like, okay, I can do this, I can do that with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what I was saying earlier is just like look around. You know, sometimes the photo's better scenic. Is that what you mean? Versus just fisheye, get gnarly. Just depends on what the background is. And hopefully you get a couple tries so you could do both.
Okay, we got time for two more.
Two more.
Yeah, you've mentioned a couple times the words focus and blurry. I realize this is a complex subject, but what I've seen in trying a lot of these myself is that you get a lot of blurry, basically.
Is that motion blur or focus?
No, focus problems. You know, so and I guess
what are you shooting? Like, what's your subject?
It varies between football plays, basketball plays,
so
that sort of stuff.
You're moving. What camera are you shooting?
It's a Nikon, a somewhat older Nikon.
That's why.
Right. Now, with this said, I realize that these super fast focusers.
I'm hit below the belt.
Right.
I'm sorry,
I realize the
folks.
super fast focusers on the newer cameras help a lot, but
yeah, it's just technology. These cameras have gotten so much better than I was shooting autofocus in the early 90s. And, it's where you're putting your point. But I will say the Canon with the eye detection has made my life so easy as far as that goes.
Yeah. Another question related to this. Have you done any work with correcting focus in post?
Yeah, we'd all be lying if we didn't hit the unsharpened mask. So yes. Okay. Pump the blacks and hit that unsharpened.
I'm coming up front. People in the splash zone. You guys are sitting up front. Here we go.
Love the splash zone.
How's it going?
Good.
I just kind of want to know, what does your gear setup look like? Are you kind of using 2 cameras? Are you walking around with just one?
My camera bag. This isn't really my this isn't my big setup, but this would be kind of my really small version. I would have, I have 6 EL1s, so this would be because you got to think I'm like jumping fences and skating around the city, but that's for skateboarding. If I'm shooting commercially, I have like 3 bodies going.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about one more?
Cool.
Coming down here, sir.
Love your presentation.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
well.
I had so much fun. Thanks to everyone here. But we got one question.
All right. So I used to shoot a lot of motocross, jet skiing, dirt bikes, and I've been shooting a lot of off-roading in the woods. Mountain biking, I'm going to start getting into
Yep.
now shooting. Fill flashing, but I'm trying to shoot, you see, with trucks going through the woods, through some of the obstacles is very slow. So I'm trying to get that ambient blur in the tires, the ambient light, and get the flash. So I'm playing around with it, but now I'm learning something with the flash, because if I do 2 or 3 shots consecutively with my finger, not with the burst, the flash dies down. And
Yes.
sometimes one exposure is like nailed, and
Yep.
the other 2
It's not recycling fast enough.
Okay, so I have to do
You
what?
could power down and use multiple flashes to get the equal amount of light.
I don't have time. I mean, they're
Okay.
coming through. I got the camera on the flash, and they're going over an obstacle, and it's like,
Right.
instantaneous moment, freeze that moment.
Or just go for the one moment and make sure you don't
Exactly.
blow it.
So just power down. I'm saying, but you're saying
No
power
pressure.
down, power
Yeah.
down, go
Power
for
down would be the cheating way so you can burst, but
Okay.
put all your eggs in one basket and
Because I get that bespeckled light, it's getting
Yeah.
the light through the woods, through the trees.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's so much we could talk hours about that stuff. It's so fun though.
That's a great shot, by the way. I really
Thank
like it.
you.
That's a great shot. Thank you.
So I think
All right,
is
y'all.
that
One
it?
more time. Round of applause for Atiba.
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
Y'all are great.